Hello everyone, thank you for watching another random palm reading. I've got these two palms side by side, the Saturn fingers cut off on the left hand. The angles that these pictures were taken are excellent, the quality are pretty good too. Now the first thing to look at here really, yes, the shape and size of the hands to see who we're dealing with, but more than that, the differences between the left and the right hand. Now the first thing that really stands out to me, which is often an indicator as a reader for what requires a little bit of work, investigation, is this Mercury finger. Perhaps you already were thinking this. Now at first glance it looks like this Mercury finger is in fact shorter on the right hand than the left, and the way to truly determine if this is true is to measure. And I have in fact measured these Mercury fingers, and they are the same length. So what really is happening here is that the Mercury finger on the right hand is lower set, much lower set than on the left. And you can tell this by how Mercury here on the left hand just about reaches the first phalanx of Apollo, whereas on the right we're falling about 3 mil short, so it would seem. And this really is an indication that this person, remember the right hand is how we're affected externally, practically, physically. So in terms of this person's ability to emotionally express, there's a lacking of confidence here, and I think this is also evident really as well by so whenever I see this kind of sign, yes, it's an inability to emotionally express and maintain relationships because it's all emotional sort of communication, which is key in relationships, maintaining them, understanding ourselves as well, working through sort of past traumas and things. But it's self-confidence, self-esteem. That's the word I'm looking for. It's not actually confidence, because when we look at the Jupiter finger, it's strong. It's a good thickness. It's nice and straight. It's straight enough. It doesn't, jut at any kind of irregular angle, and it reaches past the halfway mark of the first phalanx of Saturn. That's always an important indicator as to a development of someone's ego. So this person has confidence, perhaps in what they say, in what they do, but not a great deal of confidence in themselves, if that makes sense. There's a feeling here of a lacking of self-esteem. And this was likely due to a lacking of emotional bonding during latency. Now that's the years between the first, 0 and 6 years old, up to the age of 6. It's extremely important that we have deep and meaningful emotional bonding, processes, relationships with our parents. And so this reduced, this low set Mercury finger, which is quite striking to me, is likely as a result of a lack of maternal relationships, in this case during latency. Now normally I bash the dad in palmistry, but in this case it's some sort of a lacking of a matriarchal figure. Now I might kind of assume that this is due to not necessarily the mother. It could be the female figure during this person's, the female kind of role model during this person's latency period was lacking emotionally in some respects. I might be tempted to look at, is this bullying from teachers or, some sort of other family member? And I would see that in the Jupiter finger. I'd see that in other areas. I'm not seeing that. So this is quite a curious and isolated case here, and I spent quite a long time jabbering away about it. So let's move on. The other clear differences I see in this person's palm from left and right is the space, the gap between the heart and the headline. It's actually narrower on the right hand, and this shows that this person has, over time, they're not quite as open, they're not quite as perhaps willing to accept other people into their lives, other ideas, perhaps as well. And I mean, look at this Venus mount. It's exceptional on the right hand. And the border here, the border kind of land, is marked out by a strong and deep lifeline. Whereas on the left hand, we've clearly got a huge difference here. And perhaps this is the first thing that others picked up. Now look at the lifeline. It's practically non-existent. So what's going on here? So one of a few things could be happening here. The fateline at times actually acts as a secondary lifeline. It takes over where the lifeline ends. And it's quite a confusing thing in palmistry because the fateline is read up the palm and the lifeline is read down the palm. So where the lifeline ends, the fateline takes over in the corresponding area. It's a confusing scenario, and for me it kind of paints a reality of as to actually an indication as to how time works in itself, but that's probably for another video. So that could be what's happening here. In fact, we've got the fateline that's taking over from the lifeline, or we could have something else entirely. It could be something like this person their life has changed quite drastically and it's affected this person on the inside very differently to how it's affected them or how others perceive this change in their lifestyle and in their path in life. So it's, for me, I feel that this is in fact their lifeline, and this is also their lifeline on their left hand. That's what I think is occurring here. Their fateline begins to stem from the lifeline on their left hand, and on the right hand it does the same thing, but it also comes from lunar. So this shows the change in the career, practically, physically. So I'm just going to break down a few things here. Firstly, the reason and the meaning behind this lifeline that begins to grow outside of this initial lifeline shows a couple of things. Firstly, that this person developed a sort of a warmer approach. So they're more personal, more charismatic, they're brighter, energetic, their personality is warmer. And this is evident on the right hand by just how well developed this Venus mount is. Just look at it, whereas on here you don't see quite the same boundary. The lifeline begins to kind of thin out a little bit. And this shows how this person is feeling about their life and where it's heading, because it's the left hand. And so whilst they have become a more outgoing, warmer, charismatic person, they've learned how to come out of their shell. At the same time, there's a feeling around where their life is heading. And this is also evident in their headline and the differences between this headline on the right and left hand. The headline that droops further down on the right hand than on the left shows how this person their mind is kind of reaching into a darker, kind of more unrealistic, more imaginative area. They are thinking in terms of, they're thinking darker thoughts. They're thinking, they're retreating into a kind of an escape. And this is what happens when we are depressed. It's what happens when we're thinking unrealistic thoughts, when we become anxious. And this person has become slightly more anxious than they once were. But also there's an overall need to protect. There's a feeling around this person's career. It doesn't feel very safe from the ages of around about 33 right up to 48. And there's a square that's formed here on the right hand, and that's an excellent sign because squares are always good. What this lifeline also means is that this overarching, this wider reaching lifeline, it shows this person has made bolder steps. They've moved outside of their comfort zone. This is what Venus represents, remember. They've moved outside of their normal environment, and they've taken brave steps in advancing their life and their experiences. And this can only ever really be a good thing. Now, what the differences mean here in the fate line on the right and left hand show that this person had originally had this role that they started, I don't know, let's say 25. I'm going to say 25, and that's because of this little effort line that you see right here off the lifeline, and that's well, maybe 24. And this is where we begin to see this career line really take off for this person. A career line stemming from the lifeline itself shows a career that requires a lot of physicality, a lot of strength, and again this large Venus mount, this enlarging Venus mount, that we see on the right hand and not so much on the left, shows this person they've grown stronger physically as a person, likely due to their role. Their career has quite literally made their body stronger. But at the same time, what we see is this secondary career coming from Luna. We have actually a desire to work in a job that requires using this ability to dip into the fantasy, to look into, draw from this creative well, the lunar mount. And so this is on the right hand. So I actually think that this person had kind of started this side project where they were making, it could even just be YouTube videos, or they were, maybe writing songs. They were in some way doing something creative. Anyway, it could be anything and everything from making plant pots to being a comic book illustrator. It could be literally anything, but I could narrow it down. I don't think it's anything particularly artistic in the sense of creating some art in so much as in the typical sense, but it is something creative with an audience. It's potentially this person's a DJ, potentially something like that. This person has an audience and they're using their creative resources. I've not gone down the typical path here of explaining the kind of shape of size of the fingers. This is a fire hand. This is a tough one, really, in terms of what this person does for a career. Their day job is very different from the actual job that they want and have been working towards. Now, looking a little bit closer, what we see here is the beginnings of a success line working its way from high up on Luna. And this is an excellent sign. This really does seem to indicate here that all of the worries this person has about their career are really unfounded. They're going to be very successful, I believe. And you can see that this idea about what it is they want to do, this creative role that probably provides them with a great deal of satisfaction, has hit the headline and it's stopped around the age of about 35. And both kind of careers collide here and stop. And really, this is quite a magical sign because it shows that all things kind of come to a head. They've hit a crossroads decision, that crucial age of 35, 36. We see it all the time in palmistry. It's a karmic year for so many people. And then there's this kind of barrier here. And then, bang, the ideal career starts again at the age of around about 38, something like that, 37 maybe. It's a magnificent sign. Yeah, there may have been an initial struggle here when they quit their old job and turned their hobby perhaps into the career they've always wanted, and there was a great worry and a panic almost about how this was going to turn out. They jumped into both feet. They've taken these bold steps. They've moved outside of their normal familiar environment, as I've shown you with the lifeline here. and this is how they feel about the situation, because remember, that's the left hand. So all things are kind of falling into place here, and we've got the success that's this success line, I am certain, will get stronger over time, and it really shows what's going to happen here. You can read the success line or the sun line, Apollo line, alongside the fate line, and although the fate line might not be all that strong past the heart line itself, these are early days yet for this person, for their career, for the path that they've literally carved a new separate path for themselves. Now, the Sun mount or the Apollo mount, it has these kind of beginnings of the Sun lines, these success lines they're developing, and two of them indicates more than one income. So this side, role here, this project, it could have been earning some sort of passive income, and they've decided, okay, when they kind of reached this point of about 35, they thought, okay, it's time now to turn this passive income, to throw more time into this, and to make a fully fledged income from this. And so the reason why we don't see a kind of clear path leading right up to Saturn is because things are changing. The lines in this person's hand are going to change quite a lot over the next 5 years. And so when this happens, some lines fade and others begin to strengthen. And what will likely happen is one of these lines, probably this one, will develop and become much stronger. This is known as an inheritance line. This is not a square, it's a diamond, and it's found on the Saturn mount, and it's what it's really indicating is that this person may well have some sort of cash out, an early retirement, or they will pull out of a business and take a lot of money with them, some sort of redundancy. That's what that's indicating. It's an excellent sign because it's protective, but it's more than protective. It's prosperous. It's aiming upwards. It's a diamond. It's a bit more kind of financially prosperous. It's secure in that sense. So that's really a really positive sign. Looking closely now at the palm, we can see a few other things. And first of all, we've got here, and I'm going to go back on myself a little bit here. There was a severe incident around the age of about 13, 14 for this person. I mean, really from the age of about 12 to 14, this was an immensely difficult period for this person, and it's possible they lost a profound matriarchal figure in their life, and that could have been the result of the reason and cause for this lower set Mercury finger after all. So this kind of always happens in palmistry, and I'm sort of learning as I'm going along with this palm reading, because I didn't really do any research before starting this video, so I'm learning with you guys, but I'm just sort of showing you the processes here as to how I figure things out as I go. Luckily, we have here, I'm just noticing the branch of the lifeline coming away from this period. This really shaped this person, had a profound effect on them, and they kind of pulled away and pulled themselves away from their family at this time in a lot of ways, but didn't properly become independent until around about the age of 19. Wow. We have here, if we look at the dermatoglyphics of this person's palm, we're getting really close in now. Look at the clarity here. You have here loops in the skin ridge patterns, if you look real closely. And this is known as the loop of seriousness. And so this person, it's not that they don't take themselves seriously, but there's they have a strong sense of what it is that they should be doing, and what it is that others should be doing as well. And when we look at the fingertip patterns here, we've got 3 loops here. This is a highly adaptive person, a creative person, a lot of loops here. Sensitive, creative, emotional, intelligent, responsible soul. And if we look here at the beginnings of this fateline down here, what we see is a correspondence with this event that took place up here, and this pulling away of this lifeline, this from the headline shows this person was becoming independent in some sense, and sparked the idea for their kind of creative beginnings. This was an inspirational, a hugely painful moment, but it's really carved who they are. It's had such a profound effect on them that they turned a negative into a positive, and it's inspired them, it's impacted them in such a way that there wasn't a way for them to not carry it through their lives, and um, to utilize that painful experience in their art, whatever that is. This person is highly adaptable, so fluid that in fact I'm starting to think less fire and more water. There are certainly watery elements here to a fire hand, or perhaps fiery elements to a water hand. It's hard, it's difficult to say here, because I mean, I would say this is a fire hand, but only just, if that makes sense. And it's because of all the things kind of combined. I feel like this person wants to be in the limelight in some way. Perhaps they want to be an actor. The real question for me here is, and I'm gonna end on a bit of a mystery. But first of all, I just want to say, when we look closer at the hands here, can you notice these little sort of yellowy blotches? This is a bilious nature, and this combined with this kind of serious nature, the things that they've been through. I feel this need to kind of escape a little bit. It does appear as though we've got some tendency towards some sort of vice, and I'm thinking this perhaps this is a bit of a drinker. But the real question for me is, I highly recommend milk thistle, by the way, for this person to help with deal with this is the yellowing of the liver, and it might not be because they're drinking necessarily. It could be something else entirely. In any case, milk thistle will help this person. Milk thistle extract, although obviously consult a doctor, I'm no expert. The real mystery for me about this person's palm, and now I need to get right in there, look at this skin ridge pattern here. It's a really sort of curious, it's not an arch as such. I mean, it's almost an arch. It's not quite a loop. So, I mean, I suppose it's closer to an arch than a loop, but it's a bit of a mixture of both. And what that means is this person has emotional stability, they're practical, they're grounded, they are imaginative within their kind of emotional realm, but they also have a good understanding of their emotions as well. So, I mean, if it were a loop, this would be what's known as a nature loop, and they'd be quite in touch with their nature. So I'm a little bit confused, but I do think that it could be to do with this here, as this is where it's supporting this desired kind of career. So I feel we don't really see it so much on the left hand. There is still a curious formation here. So it appears to be a nature loop on the left hand, and just about an arch on the right. And as I say, this person, they have changed their path. They've changed themselves as a person, their skill set almost, and who they are, and what it is that they should and want to be doing. It's like I'm looking at two different people. And you've got, on the one hand, you've got a kind of a nature lover over here, and on the other hand over here you've kind of got an actor perhaps, and still loves nature, because it's not quite it's quite a curious sign, and I wonder if in a few years this will turn into more of an arch than a mixture of an arch and a loop. in any case, it's certainly supporting this career role over here. So that's the kind of mystery for me, was getting quite deep there into the dermatoglyphics, which is not always possible. So I hope that's kind of made sense here. This person, they just wanted to know about their profession and their wealth. I think I've pretty much covered that, and I don't really want to bang on for any more time here. But after the sort of age of about 48, things will start really looking up for this person. They're still going through this period, I think, of this sort of kind of career unrest, the unknown. They're stepping into the unknown, and that's probably why they asked for this reading. But I do think things will be okay. Certainly, take some milk thistle. And just having a look here at this image, taking a step back, you can see how Neptune is more pronounced here than on the left. There's a bit of an arch here, and we don't see that so much here. And it could really be an indication as to how this person has, again, come out of their shell. They've harnessed abilities within in order to kind of captivate an audience and to hold and engage with others, hold their attention. So I do think that it's possible this person could be looking to be an actor, and they've jumped in with both feet. So thanks for watching, and let me know what your thoughts are on this reading. Bit of a crazy one, bit all over the place, not a lot of structure, but we've got a lot more clarity in some other ways. So hopefully pretty soon I'll have a new microphone. So apologies for the awful tinny sound. I sound like I'm making this video inside a tin can. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Please subscribe.